You ever walk up to your house expecting a peaceful evening by the lake only to find your fence turned into a lumberyard disaster? Yeah, that was me rolling up with my golden retriever Max on a Tuesday. That was supposed to be as ordinary as a ham sandwich, and bam, there's my $3,000 cedar fence shredded like coleslaw all over my lawn. The kicker, security cameras caught everything clear as day, my neighbor Helen gas-powered chainsaw in hand, going at my fence with all the grace of a demolition derby champion. She didn't even look rushed, just methodical, stopping now and then to check her watch like she was running errands. You'd think she was pruning roses, not turning my property into modern art. I stormed over, phone in hand, footage rolling. "Helen, you chainsawed my fence. I have you on video." She hit me with this smile, sweet as spoiled milk, and says, "Oh, that old thing. It was blocking the path to the lake. Just a property line dispute. I'm telling you, the audacity would make a con artist blush." I reminded her as politely as I could manage that property disputes don't get solved with power tools. She just tilted her head, flashed that lawyer look, and told me she knew property law better than I ever would. 30 years as a lawyer, she claimed. So technically she thought it wasn't a crime. I don't know about you, but I've never seen serial chainsawing listed as a legal defense. At this point, I did what any wronged neighbor would do, called the cops. Officer Martinez showed up, took one look at my yard-turned jigsaw puzzle, and started jotting in his notebook. I played the security video fully expecting handcuffs or at least a stern word. But nope. "This is a civil matter, sir," he says, like I just called him about a pothole. Apparently, unless there's proof Helen was out for blood, it's just a boundary dispute. Take it to court, he tells me. So I'm left there sunsetting, Max pacing in the wreckage, and the system just shrugs. You know that feeling when you realize being right isn't enough? That was me right then. But if you know anything about me, you know, I'm not one to roll over. Helen thought she could bulldoze me, just like she'd probably done to other folks. But I had one thing she didn't expect: a stubborn streak in Wi-Fi. That night, I started digging. Turns out Helen's been running this playbook for years, different cities, same drama. Property forums were littered with stories about a retired lawyer demanding beach or lake access, using every legal trick in the book, pushing neighbors to the brink. She wasn't just entitled, she was practiced. And then I got a call that changed everything. Sarah Mitchell, a woman in Miami, who'd tangled with Helen, told me her story. Helen had singled her out because she was vulnerable, a recent widow with medical debt. Helen went after her with code violations, noise complaints, neighborhood gossip, even managed to turn the whole HOA against her. 6 months of misery later, Sarah sold her house at a loss just to escape. So now I'm seeing Helen in a whole new light, not just a neighbor gone wild, but someone who preyed on weakness. Here's where it gets wild. Public records showed Helen owed $12,000 in back taxes, and her house was about to go up for auction in 3 weeks. Suddenly, her chainsaw rampage wasn't about property lines, it was about financial survival. She'd sunk everything, her 401k, personal loans, probably her dignity, into this place, thinking she'd retire by the lake. Only the guaranteed lake access she'd been sold didn't exist. Her dream house was worth way less than she'd banked on. She needed that fence gone to make it look like there was a path to the lake to sell the house before the county took it. Let me tell you, it was almost enough to make me feel sorry for her. Almost. Instead of going after the real estate agent who scammed her, Helen made her problem mine. She doubled down, harassing me, filing bogus city complaints, even letting her Cocker Spaniel take revenge on my lawn with a kind of eye contact that ought to be illegal. But as I pieced together her moves, I realized her story was pure desperation. She'd lost control and was clawing at any hope she had left. When she showed up at my door with tears in her eyes, envelope of cash in hand, begging for an easement, just 3 feet of access she'd pay for the survey, anything I saw the human under the hurricane. But then, quicker than you can say, sympathy is expensive, she switched tactics, guilt-tripping me about being the young guy ruining an old lady's life. That's when I remembered Sarah and all the others Helen had bullied. Sympathy gone, I turned her down flat. Auction day rolled around and Helen marched in with her brother-in-law Michael, her supposed white knight. The bidding was tense. Every dollar felt like a thumb in the eye, and the crowd loved the drama. When I outbid Michael, it was like the air went out of the room. Helen lost it, tears, threats, the works. But the deed was done. I now owned her house and by extension her future. Next morning I showed up not to evict her, but to offer a lifeline, a lease, month to month, first month free, strict boundaries. Zero harassment. Her pride took a hit, sure, but with her credit shot and nowhere else to go, she agreed. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. She was more secure as my tenant than she'd ever been as a homeowner drowning in debt. Neighborhood barbecue rolled around and you could feel the curiosity radiate off every potato salad. Helen surprised everyone, including me, by admitting she'd been wrong. She owned up to the fence, the harassment, the whole mess. I could see the weight lift off her shoulders just a little. And I saw the neighbors' opinions shift, not just about her, but about me. Funny how quickly a villain turns into a cautionary tale. Months passed. Helen changed. She started helping around the neighborhood, volunteered, even mediated a dispute between other neighbors, using her legal skills for good for once. Sarah from Miami called me amazed that Helen had actually apologized to her, offered to pay for the damages from years ago. "You didn't just stop her," Christopher, Sarah said. "You helped her change." And she was right. Helen had become a different person. The best twist, Helen's own family admitted they were relieved someone else took over. Michael called me and said my rental deal was the first time in years Helen had faced consequences and gotten support, not just another bailout. With the pressure off, Helen found stability. She even started substitute teaching at the local high school, helping kids with civics. Turns out she was actually pretty good at it. 6 months in, Helen asked if she could stay longer. She liked her life as a tenant more than the stress of being an owner. For the first time, she was living within her means, her pride slowly giving way to gratitude. And me, I had a peaceful neighborhood, a rental covering its own costs, and a story that turned revenge into something better than satisfaction. Now, most evenings you'll find us, me, Max, and Helen, each in our yards gardening or just watching the sun go down over the lake. We wave. Max doesn't bark anymore. The new fence stands solid, the property line respected. Who would have thought that a chainsaw and a bad decision could turn an enemy into an ally? Sometimes the best revenge isn't payback, it's giving someone the chance to be better than they were at their worst. So let me throw it to you. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have shown mercy or gone for total destruction? I want to hear your thoughts. Ever had a neighbor turn into an unexpected friend or enemy? Drop your stories in the comments. Let's see where the line between justice and compassion lands for you. And hey, if this wild ride taught you something, hit that like, share your take, and stay tuned for more stories where real-life drama meets real-life lessons.